Madagascar. Picture an island that feels older than memory, an island that sits alone in the Indian Ocean, cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years. Clouds drift over a coastline that twists like a forgotten scar. The forest waits beneath, alive with sounds that do not exist anywhere else. Night falls without warning. The forest changes. Pairs of glowing eyes appear between branches. They watch, unmoving, as if the darkness belongs to them. A single call echoes through the canopy. It rises and falls like a distant instrument. The sound shakes the stillness and pulls the viewer deeper into the island. Light returns in a rush. Waves crash against red cliffs. Mist lifts from hidden valleys. The land reveals itself piece by piece, a place shaped by time rather than people. Every ridge, every tree, every creature tells the same story. Isolation created something impossible to find anywhere else. Madagascar, separated for more than 80 million years, became a world built by evolution alone. A world where familiar rules never applied. A world that feels untouched and unreal at the same time. To understand this island, you have to step backward through time. Long before Madagascar drifted into the open ocean, it sat locked inside a supercontinent. The landmasses we know today once fit together like pieces of a single, vast puzzle. For millions of years, nothing moved. Then the ground began to tear apart. Rifts opened across Gondwana. Continents that had stayed joined for ages slowly pulled away from each other. The planet reshaped itself grain by grain. Forests split, coastlines twisted, rivers broke and formed again in new places. What looked permanent was only temporary. The separation continued. Roughly 88 million years ago, the land that would become Madagascar slipped free from the forces that held it beside India. Once it drifted into open water, no land bridges remained. No paths connected it to anything else. Isolation took over. The island moved forward through deep time without large predators, without the pressure of outside species, without interruption. Nature experimented in ways it could not do on connected continents. Each valley turned into a small world with its own direction. Each forest shaped its species without influence from beyond the horizon. The result was a living laboratory, a place where evolution wrote its own script, a place that grew stranger and richer as the centuries passed. The island did not just survive alone. It flourished because of that solitude. Madagascar may look like one island on a map, but once you cross its interior, you find two different worlds. The land shifts beneath your feet. The air changes. Even the light feels different. Travel east, and the sky turns heavy with rain. Clouds build over the mountains and release storms that feed thick rainforests. Trees grow close together and rise in tall columns. Moss covers their trunks. Water drips from every surface. The forest hums with insects, birds, and small hidden animals that move through the leaves in quick flashes. The canopy blocks most of the sun, leaving the ground in a deep green half-light. Move west and the world opens. The air dries. Winds sweep across wide plains. Thorny woodlands replace dense rainforest. The soil shifts from dark earth to pale dust. Strange silhouettes rise from the ground, tall and swollen with stored water. These are the baobabs, trees that look like they were planted upside down. Their thick trunks swell like giant reservoirs. Their branches twist out from the top like roots, reaching for the sky. Between these two sides lies a boundary you can feel rather than see. Moist wind from the ocean feeds the east. Dry air from the interior shapes the west. The island splits along this line, creating two ecosystems that developed apart from each other. Animals in the rainforest adapted to constant moisture and dense cover. Species in the west learned to survive heat, dryness, and long quiet stretches between storms. This contrast defines Madagascar. Two climates, two landscapes, and two evolutionary paths rising from the same ancient land. Lemurs did not begin their story on this island. They arrived by accident, carried across open ocean on natural rafts of tangled roots and fallen trees. The journey was brutal. Storms pushed them off course. Currents dragged them farther from the mainland. Yet a few survived long enough to reach Madagascar's empty shores. Once they stepped onto that soil, nothing pushed them back. The island they found held no large predators, no rival primates, no animals competing for the same space or food. The forests were silent, waiting to be claimed. In that calm, lemurs began to change. Each valley shaped them in its own way. Each region pushed them toward new forms, new sizes, new habits. Time passed. Diversity exploded. The tiny mouse lemur, no larger than a human thumb, learned to rule the night with enormous eyes and fast movements. The sifakas mastered vertical leaps, climbing white trunks and launching themselves between trees like weightless shadows. The Indri, one of the largest lemurs left, formed tight family groups and defended their territory through haunting, rising calls that carry for miles. Their voices sound almost human, a mix of warning and mourning. Some lemurs adapted to rich fruit forests. Others turned to insects, leaves, or tree sap. Their bodies changed to fit their diets. Their behavior split into dozens of strategies. Today, they represent more than 100 species, each shaped by isolation and opportunity. No other place on Earth holds anything like them. Their presence defines Madagascar. The forest feels different when a troop moves through it. Branches whisper. Leaves shake in smooth waves. Calls echo from canopy to canopy. Lemurs are not just survivors on this island, they are its heartbeat, a reminder of what evolution creates when nothing interrupts it for millions of years. Imagine Madagascar in the late Cretaceous more than 70 million years ago. The island did not resemble the place we know today. It lay closer to India and Africa, wrapped in heat and heavy moisture. The air stayed warm year-round, with no true dry season. Rain fell again and again, soaking mangrove forests, ancient rivers, and sprawling swamps. The landscape felt alive, pulsing like the breath of the primordial earth. There were no people here, no distant hum of machines, only the drone of giant insects, the deep calls of reptiles, and the slow echo of dinosaur footsteps moving through thick mud. Trees stretched tens of meters into the sky. Their trunks rose like pillars, and beneath them, colossal ferns and primitive conifers spread across the forest floor. Life crowded every corner. The humidity pressed against the skin. Darkness pooled under the canopy. The world felt ancient and untouched. Higher oxygen levels fed strange and oversized creatures. Dragonflies grew as large as human hands. Frogs swelled to the size of melons. Primitive birds glided with long tails and feathered wings, drifting between shafts of light in a sky that looked thicker and brighter than the one we know. Everything moved as if suspended in deep time. In the western rock layers of this ancient island, scientists later uncovered clues from that lost world. Jagged teeth, femur bones as thick as tree trunks, giant eggs nearly 10 kilograms in weight. These fragments told a story of a land shaped by monsters and ruled by creatures that pushed the limits of evolution. The forest at that time did not whisper. It roared, hissed, and growled. Every sound carried the weight of survival. Each footstep placed by a dinosaur left a mark in wet earth that would harden into stone over millions of years. Each broken branch told the story of a creature passing through a world still young, raw, and unformed. This is the Madagascar buried beneath the soil, a land that breathed before human memory, a land where evolution took its earliest steps and left behind traces of a time when giants ruled the island and every shadow held something alive. In this ancient world walked one of Madagascar's most fearsome predators. Majungasaurus ruled the western plains, a carnivore more than 7 meters long with a thick skull and curved teeth built for crushing bone. It moved through the heat in slow, deliberate strides, waiting for any creature weak enough to bring down. Food was scarce, and the island offered few large animals to hunt. When hunger pressed too hard, the predator turned on its own kind. Fossils of Majungasaurus carry unmistakable bite marks from another Majungasaurus, a rare and chilling record of cannibalism etched into bone. Across the island, another giant shaped the opposite side of this prehistoric world. Repetosaurus lived beneath flooded forests and along ancient riverbanks. More than 15 meters long and weighing close to 10 tons, it moved with calm strength. It fed on leaves high above the ground, using its long neck to reach where no other creature could. It was the gentle giant of Madagascar, a quiet presence in a landscape dominated by predators. Yet even this massive herbivore bore scars. The bones of young Repetosaurus show bite marks from smaller carnivorous dinosaurs, signs that life here formed a complex and violent web long before Majungasaurus became king. Danger also waited in the swamps. Not every killer needed sharp teeth or towering height. Some hid beneath mud, still as stone, until the moment they struck. Among them was Beelzebufo ampinga, the giant devil frog. Nearly the size of a soccer ball and weighing about 5 kilograms, it sat half submerged in murky pools. Its jaw could snap with enough force to crush small animals or even young dinosaurs. Its armored skin, bulging eyes, and heavy body made it one of the island's strangest predators. At night, it did not croak. It hissed. The sound rolled low across the water and silenced every other creature nearby. This collection of giants and hidden hunters defined Madagascar before the world we know existed. Every claw mark left on a tree, every tooth buried in bone, and every fossil locked in stone preserves a moment of that vanished age. These traces reveal a place that held dangers both towering and small, a world where even a frog could become the terror of the swamp. When the age of dinosaurs ended, Madagascar did not fall silent. The mass extinction erased most life across the planet, yet this isolated island held on to fragments of the ancient world. Life reshaped itself, first slowly, then with surprising force. New giants emerged, filling the spaces left behind by the creatures that had vanished. Across the western plains walked Epionus, the elephant bird. It stood more than 3 meters tall and weighed half a ton. Its powerful legs carried it across open fields, and its massive body cast long shadows over the dry earth. It could not fly, but it never needed to. With no large predators to fear, it lived freely, browsing for food and roaming wherever it wished. It laid enormous eggs, larger than a human head. One egg could feed a family for days, a fact that would one day seal its fate. Nearby moved the giant lemur megalodapis, a creature unlike any living primate. Its heavy body and slow, deliberate movements gave it the presence of an ancient survivor, a relic that carried the weight of deep time. The colossal Aldabra tortoises lived alongside it, their armored shells rising like boulders from the grass. In the wetlands, pygmy hippos pushed through reeds and shallow water, their small but sturdy frames adapted perfectly to a world without threats. Together, these animals formed an ecosystem that felt dreamlike, as if evolution had paused and left these creatures to wander peacefully through an untouched landscape. This era lasted for thousands of years. The island drifted gently through time, its giants unchallenged and its balance preserved by isolation. Forests grew thick and ancient. Rivers carved new paths. Seasons changed, but the great animals remained, shaping their world with each step, each breath, each generation. Yet every age has its boundary. For Madagascar's giants, that boundary approached silently across the sea. The island did not know it yet, but its ancient calm would soon be broken. Every prehistoric story reaches the moment when the world changes faster than its creatures can follow. For Madagascar, that moment arrived about 2,000 years ago, when the first human groups from Southeast Asia and Africa crossed the sea and stepped onto its shores. They found a land that felt endless, filled with rivers, forests, and animals unlike anything they had seen before. To them, it looked like a promised land. To the giants that lived here, it marked the beginning of the end. People hunted elephant birds for their meat and enormous eggs. They burned forests to clear land for crops. They captured lemurs and tortoises for food. The flames spread across hillsides and smoke rolled through valleys that had stayed untouched for millions of years. Within a few centuries, the elephant bird fell silent forever. The giant lemurs disappeared. Forests that had survived asteroids, volcanoes, and ice ages collapsed under axes and fire. Creatures that had endured 80 million years of isolation vanished almost overnight. When the smoke finally lifted, Madagascar entered a new era. The giants were gone. The ancient balance broke. What remained were the survivors, the smaller species able to live in a world reshaped by human hands. They inherited a landscape built from the ruins of prehistory. They adapted, hid, changed, and clung to whatever fragments of forest remained. They became the keepers of a legacy stretching back to the Jurassic Age. Walk through Madagascar today, and you step across the shadows of that lost world. Beneath the soil lie the bones of Majungasaurus, the cracked shells of elephant bird eggs, and the footprints of giants pressed into rock long before human memory. The island became a doorway in time, a place where the past still lingers in every valley and every forest edge. The monsters are gone, but their echoes remain in the creatures that survived. The bright gaze of a lemur, the sudden movement of the fossa, the long stride of the island's running birds, all trace their lineage back to a world that once belonged to giants. Madagascar did not lose its story. It only changed its cast. Madagascar today feels like a meeting place between memory and the present. In the east, rain falls through the canopy in steady sheets. Mist drifts through the trees and softens every sound. Sunlight filters through droplets and turns the forest into a glowing maze where movement comes in quick flashes, leaps, and calls. Lemurs travel through branches in families. Their voices rise each morning, echoing across valleys that still hold fragments of ancient wilderness. At night, their eyes reflect moonlight, bright and golden, watching from the shadows. In these forests, the fossa moves with quiet purpose. It climbs, drops, and weaves through the undergrowth with confident speed. Its body stretches long and lean, part cat, part mongoose, shaped by isolation. It hunts by night, and its sharp cry chills the silence. To lemurs, that sound signals danger. To the island, it represents the last natural predator that once kept the forest in balance. Yet even the fossa suffers. Its territory shrinks as forests disappear and people kill it to protect livestock. The hunter has become the hunted. Look closer at the trunks and branches, and you see the island's masters of illusion. Leaf-tailed geckos cling to bark with bodies shaped like broken leaves. Their skin mimics cracks, moss and shadows so perfectly that even a trained eye can miss them. Chameleons perch nearby, some no longer than a human finger. They rotate their eyes in separate directions, searching for insects. When they strike, their tongues move with sudden precision, faster than the blink of an eye. Madagascar holds more than half the world's chameleon species, each one carrying an evolutionary story found nowhere else. Then the landscape shifts again as you move west. The air grows hot and dry. The soil turns red. Thorny thickets spread across the ground. Towering baobabs rise from the dust, their trunks swollen with water. Their branches twist upward like roots reaching for the sky. Some trees have stood for more than 2,000 years. They endured droughts, storms, and centuries of change. They keep the island's memory in their massive trunks. Two worlds exist side by side. One is green, wet, and full of sound. The other is dry, harsh, and shaped by survival. Between them, life splits, adapts, and transforms. Madagascar becomes a living museum, a place where the present carries the imprint of everything that came before. The lemurs that leap through the canopy, the predators that stalk the night, the geckos that vanish into bark, and the baobabs that rise like ancient pillars all hold pieces of a story millions of years old. Madagascar is small, yet it carries a staggering share of life. It holds less than half of 1% of Earth's land, but more than 5% of all known species live here. 90% exist nowhere else. When something disappears on this island, it disappears forever. The forests once stretched unbroken across the land. Now more than 90% are gone. What remains survives in scattered fragments surrounded by red soil and burned ground. Animals trapped inside these patches cannot move or adapt. Populations shrink. Species fade. The clearest warning comes from the lemurs. 95% of them face extinction. Their calls once carried across the eastern mountains. Today, only a few forests near Andasibi still echo their full songs. They survived ancient catastrophes, but struggle to survive us. When predators vanish and forests fall, the entire system collapses. Rats multiply, insects ravage crops, rivers clog with silt. What took millions of years to balance unravels in a handful of generations. Inside every tree and patch of soil lie compounds and species we have never studied. Each time a forest burns, part of that unknown world rises as smoke and disappears. Fire drives the destruction. In the hills, people burn forests through Tavi. Flames rush across dry branches. Smoke rolls upward and turns the sky red. Baobabs glow like burning pillars. Lemurs scramble through the canopy. Birds flee. Smaller creatures choke in ash. Every fire wipes out an entire chain of life. What was once a vast rainforest is now scattered into isolated patches. Each fragment traps species inside. They cannot move, mix, or recover. They shrink in silence. Many drift toward extinction. Lemurs face the steepest drop. More than 100 species remain, yet almost all are threatened. The Indri, once heard across the eastern mountains, now sings in only a few protected pockets. They survived the asteroid that erased dinosaurs, but cannot survive habitat loss and hunting. Each species that disappears erases millions of years of history. Even the fossa fades. People kill it to protect livestock. Only a few hundred survive, scattered through broken forests. Without predators, the food chain collapses. Rats multiply. Crops fail. The forest weakens. A system shaped by millions of years unravels in a single lifetime. Even as the forests shrink and species fade, people across Madagascar work to keep the island alive. In Ranamafana, conservation teams plant trees one by one. Each sapling anchors soil, cools the air, and reconnects pieces of forest that once formed an unbroken green world. These efforts move slowly, but the rhythm is steady. Over years, small patches of jungle grow again, and animals begin to return. In Andasibi, children learn the calls of lemurs before they learn maps or dates. They study how forests give water, food, and shelter. They learn why the Indri's song matters, and why a fallen tree is more than lost firewood. These lessons spread from classrooms to families, shifting how communities see the land beneath their feet. Scientists set cameras deep in the forest to listen and watch without disturbing the animals. The lenses catch lemurs climbing branches where none had been seen for years. They record young fossas born inside restored territory, proof that life expands when given space. These small flashes of hope show that recovery is possible. Some villages now protect forests through ecotourism. Guides lead visitors along narrow trails where leaves glow in filtered light. Families earn income by preserving trees instead of cutting them. What once felt like a distant idea becomes a practical choice for survival. People guard the forest not out of obligation, but because it sustains their future. The progress is fragile, but real. Each planted tree, each protected hillside, each returning animal becomes a step toward balance. Madagascar has not given up. As long as people continue to protect what remains, the island still carries a chance to heal. You've just scratched the surface. Tap subscribe and let's keep chasing the questions that make the world so strange and fascinating.